And so whilst the news on the surface of life seems to be chaotic and challenging and intense, and deeply rooted in fear and division and limitation and powerlessness, the great glorious good news is that with God and glory in the heart, the recognition that the fear that we can believe is true and we can be pulled into, we come to realize that with God and glory in the heart, that there is only love, and that everything that the news channels would like to broadcast to us and have us believe is all a dance of fear begetting fear. It's all a dance of imbalance and powerlessness, spreading the terrible news. And the terrible news is that when we are immersed in fear, that we imagine, that we believe that fear is real, that fear is true, and we imagine that that frequency is a lived reality. But with God and glory in the heart, we recognize that there is only love, and that what love is a frequency of openness. It's a frequency that is undivided and unlimited. And when we come to open to our true nature being this undivided openness, really what is happening in our life in a practical way is that we're not trying to push anything away. We're not resisting anything. We're open to receive everything that arises in the life. And we're also aware of the habit to make ourselves wrong and to collaborate with the idea that there's something wrong with me or there's something wrong with life. And we start to realize that when we collaborate with making ourselves wrong or making others wrong, that we're in division, we're in lack, and we're creating identity. We're creating identity out of limitation. Identity is a protective mechanism that creates kind of an armoring or a facade for us, an identity, so that we don't truly meet the moment. We don't truly be the presence that we are, because identity is a kind of diversion, a protective diversion that's holding a posture. And it's a protective posture that keeps us away from truly being who we are, but truly feeling the fullness of what the landscape of our human lived experience offers. Because the landscape of our human lived experience is quite diverse and is an adventure. And when we speak of equanimity, equanimity is the true nature, is the nature of the unmoving, unchanging that holds it all. But the dance of life is a part of the human lived experience. And so what we're really opening to through our lived experience isn't creating any kind of identity, but releasing the identities, bringing awareness and awakeness to the identities and the protective strategies that we're holding, so that we're really feeling, sensing, and being the fullness of who we are. And we're not using strategy to manage life, but we're being the wild, untamed flow of life with all the spectrum of diverse happenings and feelings that come as part of a human life. And when we're not moving from a strategy to manage that, control that, to dampen that, to try to get away from that, to resist that, in a way, the lived experience is about opening to the fullness of life. So in that, we would have to say opening to the fullness of this moment with all that it offers, with all that it offers, with all that it offers, everything, the whole shkaboodle, right? Just everything that comes. And to know that when crazy things comes in, it's not that we're making a mistake, because it's not that life should be an equanimity. It's that our true nature is equanimous, and the equanimous bliss, we could say the blissful equanimity, is our ability to just be so open and receptive to everything that happens, and that we realize that our true essential nature, the presence of the moment, doesn't change no matter what the play of life brings in. And that this game of life, this game of a human life, is about seeing through all the conditions that hold us in our humanness, in a state of limitation and lack, defense, resistance, and that we're actually unifying and undividing our whole lived experience and coming to discover the fullness and balance of a harmonious heart. A harmonious heart is a heart that is balanced and is powerful, and it's balanced, and it's the balance that brings the power, right? Imbalance leaves us feeling powerless. As we open to balancing our lived experience and balancing the heart, it's not a doing to balance. It's about balance and harmony arising naturally when we're not trying to control our lived experience. Because if we're trying to control the lived experience, that is what creates imbalance, is the control, the protection. We can most definitely be conditioned through the biology that we have come in as, to be holding conditionings, to be living and strategizing in certain ways. But we're not speaking about gender roles, and we're not speaking about the masculine and the feminine. According to our biology, we're speaking about a rebalancing of these flows of archetypal energy that we all have, all of us, and that we have unique laws of nature and we have unique configurations that have nothing to do with really our biology and our gender, although there is a collective consciousness that is conditioned to act and behave in certain ways according to our biology. But essentially, we're speaking big picture here. And when we're speaking big picture, we're not looking at life through a limited lens. We're looking at life through the wideness and the expansiveness of being awareness. And when we're looking from the expansive awareness, we're not looking from a perspective that divides or sees things in a certain way. We're looking from the undivided. And that's really glorious, because when we look from the undivided, we're immediately looking from a perspective that's all inclusive, and that we're not boxing ourselves in, and we're not holding ourselves to ideas according to our biologies, like men do this and women do that, right? Because as soon as we come in with these kind of ideas, we tend to find that we don't really quite fit in to the box, right? We don't fit into the box. And if we don't fit into the box, we tend to shut down on a certain level and say, well, I don't really fit into that box. That doesn't really apply to me. So it can be really empowering and beautiful and more aligned with nature to look upon the whole big picture from a more inclusive way of seeing that we all contain the two great archetypal energies of the masculine and the feminine, and depending on our unique laws of nature, configuring our conditioning, our karmas, we're all uniquely organized, and generally we have imbalance, right, of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We have imbalance within our functioning. And the lived experience, great glory, is about rebalancing our unique laws of nature and our unique configuration of consciousness that's holding conditioning, reconfiguring it according to not any kind of organized ideas, but allowing a natural reconfiguration to happen in the wide open field of awake awareness that includes everything and welcomes everything. And that what we are made of is an intelligence that reconfigures and reorganizes itself when the frequency field that is holding space, we could say, is looking upon what is happening in the play. There's a reorganization that naturally starts to happen, a recalibration that starts to happen, where our conditionings and our ideas and ways of functioning that we've learned. Now, we most definitely have learned in some ways of what it is to be a boy, what it is to be a girl. And we've also found that there's ways that we align with that, and there's ways that we don't align with that. Like, so that's where the uniqueness comes in, and the unique configuration, and that our imbalance of masculine and feminine isn't necessarily fully aligned according to the biology. That we all have imbalances, and ultimately we could even say that many female biologies are organized and imbalanced towards the masculine. That there's as many female biologies that are not fully embodying the feminine as there are masculine biologies. It's possible, right? So we're really not looking according to biology. We're looking according to our lived experience and our unique configuration. And if we look big picture, we're really looking to see, as the awake awareness, that wherever we discover that we're in resistance, or we're holding, or we are noticing discordance, that life itself is constantly offering us this opportunity to see what is happening within our own unique field from the perspective of being aware and awake and just noticing that something doesn't feel aligned. And when something doesn't feel aligned, we feel discombobulated, we feel resistant, we feel stressed. We just can tell that something isn't fully flowing, particularly when we're used to and we're opening to a sense of flow that is recognizable, right? So we recognize when there's imbalance. And really what life is offering us is an opportunity to open to imbalance. And as we open to imbalance and we feel and we sense and we truly welcome the feelings and the sensations, and we allow that surfacing and transmutation to happen, then we are operating as the intelligence that is reconfiguring, recalibrating and reorganizing, and bringing online a greater intelligence. We're revealing identities, we're revealing the places that we identify, and we hold ourselves in identity as a way of protection. And as we reveal identities and we illuminate and we feel what is underneath these identities and these habits of protection, we're also releasing our fear. And as we release our fears and our stresses, so as identity is seen, the fears and stresses that are held in place by those identities are released and seen more clearly, felt more clearly. So there's more to feel. And when there's more to feel, the parts of us that want to protect are more likely to want to shut down. But as we're opening in this way that we are speaking of, we are opening to greater and greater, subtler and subtler capacity to feel and to be the presence, to be the awake awareness that is able to meet whatever arises, that allows this reconfiguring and recalibration to happen, that reorganizes the intelligence and the patternings of consciousness and start to restore the divine patterning and release the discordant patterning. And as the discordant patterning releases and the divine patterning comes online, our conditionings fall away, our protective strategies fall away, and we start to notice that we're operating not from such a place of protection, control, and resistance. And we just naturally start to notice that there's more openness and more willingness, more courage to feel our fears, to be able to meet our fears, to be able to meet our stresses and anxieties as they arise. Because we're not so much then being pulled by the identity that's trying to hold a certain way of being with things, or a needing to be seen, a needing to be understood, a needing to control, a needing to get it right. So the intelligence itself is reorganizing. And perhaps as these words come, you just start to notice some subtle ways that they apply to your direct lived experience. And it's not about any kind of doing, And it's not about creating new strategy. It's about illuminating as the technology of light and being present and open as the technology of love that just sees in total openness and receives and welcomes and includes everything in this that's here present in this moment. This is the technology of transformation. This is the technology, we could say, of blessing. The technology of transformation and blessing is the technology of love's ability to be open and receptive and welcoming, and to, by its very nature, by the nature of love, just being love, it blesses everything by not resisting or turning away. So in a way, the blessing is just an opening and a welcoming frequency, right? Just a loving, open, welcoming frequency. And the blessing is a natural ability to just be with what is as a presence that includes, in a way, a presence that, as love, says, I just love you. I just love you. Right? And it's not a gesture of any kind of division. So it's not even a gesture of like a parent saying that to a child. Exactly. It's even more intimate. It's just love saying to itself, I just love you. And it's a frequency of openness that is so welcoming and receptive that the frequency itself just doesn't have any resistance. It's just an unguarded, undefended frequency, right? So we could say the great parent, the great mother, father, with the divine child. I just love you. I just love you. We haven't necessarily had that kind of unconditional love all the way through modeled to us. And that's okay. It's that we've all lived we've all been living in the human condition, and our parents and guardians have been living in a condition, in a human condition. And yet when we really start to open to this possibility of rebalancing and reorganizing in our heart and our soul and our consciousness, we start opening to a frequency and capacity of unconditionality that is actually the unconditionality of life. Life is unconditional within the living of itself. It's not holding itself back, right? You don't see a tree saying, whoa, I'm not sure that I'm going to put out any more leaves in case they wither up in the fall and die and blow away, right? I'm not going to take part in spring this year. You don't see a flower saying, yeah, I'm not going to put out any petals. I'm going to just stay a bud because it's safer to stay a bud. I don't have to go through that whole process of flowering and then dying back and being cut off, right? No, the flower just goes for it. Full glory in absolute divine readiness, right? Not every single flower blossoms at the same time, but in the perfect moment, right? There's that unconditionality of life. It's just living itself. It's just taking the risk. It's not holding itself back. So we can learn something from that. We can learn something glorious from that. That when we hold ourselves back, that we're not in the full unconditional nature of life, and we're not in the full open technology of love, just loving itself, being fully and wildly open to itself, right? So the glory is that as the words come, the intelligence that we're made of already knows this. These words that are coming are not news to the intelligence that you're made of, right? This is not broadcast news. This is just a gentle frequency reminder that's just dropping in to say at a reminder frequency, hey, remember that wholeness that you are, that wholeness thing, that full wholeness, powerful, balanced, harmonious heart that you are. Yeah, that's what we're speaking about. Remember the love that you are. Remember the openness and the presence, the still, silent, glorious presence, the undivided wholeness, the non-judging openness. Yeah, that part of you. Remember that part of you, that when you remember and open to the frequency field of that part of you, that this any sense of division and lack and holding suddenly starts to reorganize and recalibrate, because there's all this spaciousness and light and this frequency of love and holding and care and kindness that says, all of you is welcome here, beloved. All of you is welcome. You can feel everything, beloved. You can feel it all. You can even get a little messy. Sure. You can feel it all. You can allow the fullness of who you are to be expressed and lived here, because this is actually the rebalancing of your lived human experience, and how you open to the fullness of your own divinity is actually through not denying any part of yourself and allowing a full recalibration of the wholeness of your heart and a rebalancing of the masculine and the feminine flows, so that you're organizing a certain structure of being awake awareness, a field of awake awareness that sees without judging, that is open and just looking upon while the dance of life is happening. There's this constant, unwavering presence that just sees and welcomes it all. And in the presence of this Shiva aspect, in the presence of this, it's like a container, but an infinite, unbounded, eternal container that is just open and welcoming and seeing, just seeing, awake and seeing, unwavering, undisturbable. That here, the whole play of life living itself, the divine Shakti, the divine Leela, can unfold with wild, untamed abandon, right? The play can fully play itself out, be fully playful, right? Be fully playful, wildly playful. And there's this natural rebalancing that starts to happen when we are awake and aware, and that divine masculine, the Shiva aspect, is just here holding upright. I've got you, says Shiva, right? I've got you. Great, says Shakti. I can really go for it, right? I can really really flow. And I don't have to control myself and hold myself back. I don't have to think about a thing, because that frequency of I've got you, like you're held, right? A structure, substance allows that dance to happen, feeling, sensing, just the whole aliveness is just totally, just unconditionally living itself. And there's a natural rebalancing that's happening in the heart, where the Shiva and the Shakti aspects are rebalancing within the sense of the personal heart. It's like the personal heart, illumined from the divine, the big light, allows the rivers of the masculine and the feminine energies to be themselves, being illuminated by the big light. And it's like the human condition is being illuminated and allowed to reorganize and recalibrate as a natural flow of intelligence. And that natural flow of intelligence is reorganizing and recalibrating itself according to the technology, divine technology of light that illuminates and just brings its brilliance and radiance and the love, the openness that receives and includes and blesses it all. So just notice what is being noticed as these words come. Notice what is being seen, what is recalibrating, what is reorganizing, and not even necessarily needing to understand or give explanation, but just to feel and just watch. Watch the intelligence moving and dancing, reorganizing itself, repatterning itself, allowing the flow of heart to rebalance and harmonize, and then to be resourced from source and to overflow. It's like as this recalibration and reorganizing happens, it allows the flow of the divine, it allows God and glory to just come flowing through. And this recalibration that's happening, that's not holding on to any ideas of how I should be, who I should be, what I should be, just being, right? Just being. And in this sense of just being, we open to the being as a field of awake, aware presence. So that still, silent, peaceful presence. And as we open to this presence, the being knowing itself is like a knowing that is alive. And that alive knowing itself is the dynamic flow, of life, right? The dynamic flow of life. Magic, right? The computer started to flow off of its stand. We've got to keep it real, right? Because that's what life is. Life is reality. Life is real. Life isn't about appearances and shows and pretenses. Life is about reality. Life is about reality and being real. And when we are real, we allow the fullness of who we are to be here. That we're allowed We're allowed to be just as we are. We're allowed to be relaxed. We're allowed for spontaneous happenings to occur, right? There's a spaciousness. It's like dwelling, residing in a frequency of not knowing, a frequency of surprise, where everything isn't held in a control. This is the way it is. This is the way it's got to be. I know what's going to happen every single day of the week at every single hour. And I need that kind of control to make my life organized and function. It's a surrender into this moment here now. Great glory, eternal God, I am yours. You are mine. Let's play. let us not know what tomorrow will bring. And that's not that we don't make plans and we don't organize, but we're ready to let it all go. If the wind blows in and something changes the plan, that we don't melt down. And if we do melt down, we welcome that, right? Nothing is out of the bounds of boundlessness, right? Nothing is wrong. Whatever happens, all of life is a creative flow that we're constantly welcoming and welcoming and welcoming, right? So, this is where life is joyful, life is fun, life is an adventure, right? Because we never know what is around the corner. We can think that we've got it all organized and together. We think that we know, and something happens. And if we're ready to just be the openness and just, okay this, okay this. And it's not about being okay this, like that cultivated, I'm not going to have any emotion about it. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to have feelings. It's allowing everything that's here to be present. And yes, as we allow all that we are to be present, and we welcome our disappointment and our frustration and our sadness and our shock and our upset and whatever comes in, our anger, our rage, and we allow all of that to come in. And as we allow that to come in, there's a reorganizing that starts to happen, where the frequency patterns start to shift out of the protection of holding back. And holding back, that we can have a fear of allowing ourselves to be in the fullness, particularly if there is emotionality that comes forward. We can have a fear of allowing our feelings to come forward. And it can be for different reasons. It can be because we've just really learned to suppress our feelings. And so to feel the feelings can feel dangerous. Feels like to feel the feelings brings a kind of danger that we might lose control, right? And it can also bring a fear of being too much and being shut down, or getting disconnected from love, right? So there can be a whole kind of frequency, discordant frequencies of the reasons why we hold back, why we hold back the fullness. But it's that capacity to notice, am I holding myself back? Why am I holding myself back? What do I believe will happen if I hold myself, if I let the fullness come back? And how is holding myself back keeping me in a sense of believed safety, right? So we just start to notice. We just notice, and we realize that this field is a field of kindness that welcomes everything, truly welcomes everything, and allows the full spectrum of all that we are to be included. And as we allow all that we are to be included, the intelligence starts to reorganize. And that reorganization, the reorganization starts to shift the frequency patterning of the field, where our protections start to dissolve and melt into, in a way, the holding of the presence, the holding of the unconditional welcome. It's like the holding back can feel that there's a presence of love that truly welcomes everything. It's like we could say that the love of God is a redeeming love. And the love that we experience in the frequency of the Christ consciousness, in the frequency of the unified field, is an all-inclusive love and holding. And as we open and we start to feel our belonging and our connection to that field, that frequency, it's like more of a willingness and a courage to be ourselves and to feel the fullness of who we are just naturally starts to happen. So the intelligence itself rebalances in the presence of love, in the presence of unconditional love, in the presence of divine love. And as we open to a frequency field that can hold it all and welcome it all, here it all comes, right? Here it all comes, because it can feel like those tender young holding places can feel that there's a sense of true safety. And it's not a mental understanding, because none of it is a doing. It's like a natural reconfiguring that starts to happen.